It was in Istanbul that the Hisar School held for the sixth consecutive year the Junior Model United Nations Conference. At this Model United Nations, students take part in simulations of the debates and the resolution drafting process that take place at the United Nations. These gatherings, held in English, have been organized all around the globe, and Hisar School's conference was the first of its kind to involve students as young as 12 years old. For the past 6 years, more and more students, accompanied by their teachers, from local and foreign schools have been attending this event. Feed the World was the theme of this year's conference. Students were confronted with pressing issues such as world hunger and the global food crisis. The conference started with an opening ceremony joining all delegates, chairs, committee members, and administrative staff. Deputy Secretary General Kerem Erman formally opened the conference.
Welcome to the 6th annual session of the Junior Model United Nations Conference. JMUN's aim is to prepare young delegates for their future immune careers and provide a good education that includes an awareness of world issues, debating, and public speaking. It may seem like a big challenge, but don't worry. The student officers and the whole JMUN team are here to help you.
Today, over 1 billion people in developing countries live without sufficient food and adequate nutrition. Secretary General Roy Eskenazi launched the debate by discussing the inequality of resources and the problems of bad governance.
We live in a world where more than 1 billion people go to sleep hungry, which I believe is a political problem. People simply don't have the means to grow their own food, or the money or markets to purchase it, since government policies in some countries take away land from poor people, indigenous people, to use it for big-scale agriculture. These are the government policies that favor one industry over another at the expense of the environment.
Keeping with tradition, the conference invited guest speakers to share their expertise and interact with the audience. Abdul Maraban, Livestock Development Officer at the Food and Agriculture Organization. Robert Stern, teacher, lawyer, and expert on international law.
Well, there are many causes of the hunger. The resources are plenty in the world, but the resources have not been used properly and not sufficiently. Of course, due to bad management, insufficient resources, bad policies of the government, lack of technologies, trade barriers, wars, insecurity. All these contributes to food insecurity in the world.
And by the end of the day, we should start with the actual debates on the actual topics about food security. We'll do lobbying, merging, and we'll get the resolutions ready by tonight.
Over 3 days, the students played the role of diplomats, representing nations or non-governmental organizations. They formed committees just like in the United Nations. Each committee discussed different topics revolving around the theme of the global food crisis.
What happens is we have the General Assembly committees. There are 6 General Assembly committees, and they don't necessarily reflect the case, the committees or the commissions in the UN. We have some made-up committees just so there's more variety and we can fit in more issues. We also have the special conference, and there are 6 committees under that. And we basically have a heading for each committee. For example, protection, which is obviously not a real UN committee. And under that, we have protection of animal rights in agriculture.
It's an environment where they're fed with growth hormones, antibiotics, which are to combat the disease, but instead they actually make the animal's condition worse. What does this have to do with animal rights? Since these animals are treated poorly, their animal rights are infringed, how they live their lives are not taken into consideration. So it's a violation of animal rights. Factory farming is a process that treats animals as food since the day they are born, and thus the following argument is risen. This is very important. Does it matter how we treat the animals since they will die anyway? So this is a question asked by major corporations who have to do with factory farming.
Each committee is led by a chair and co-chair who have gained experience in previous Model United Nations. Once they present the issue to fellow committee members, the chair and a co-chair guide them through the process of lobbying, debating, and voting the resolutions.
I'm the president and chair of the Protection Committee, which is a special committee in JMUN, and our job is to help delegates and guide them through the process of MUN. Most of them are here for the first time, and so we're teaching them the basics, the resolutions, how to write a resolution, the parliamentary language, and how to debate.
They're innocent, they don't have any sense, and they deserve to live happily and die peacefully.
If you have any questions concerning like your policy on the issue or something else that should be looked up in the internet.
This is my first time chairing, trying to encourage them to speak and also helping them with everything they don't understand. Like, I'm basically here to actually control the debate and make sure everything goes okay. But I also am here to help the delegates and help them improve themselves as much as I can.
If all of the young adults, if all of the teenagers could actually participate in events like Model UN, the future of our world would be a much better future, a future with a lot of wise people that could shape the world and have a better understanding of all the issues and problems. And what we're trying to do is to find solutions.
To find solutions, writing resolutions is paramount. The process begins with some background preparation. Each student must first research the country he or she represents and the issues that each has been assigned. The key to good preparation is to narrow down complex issues by writing policy statements. These explain a country's point of view. They also recommend specific actions to the UN. Within each committee, delegates receive valuable research report and questionnaires that are prepared by the chairs and co-chairs.
And right now, delegates are answering the questions which we gave them to have a better understanding of the topic. The classical question is, what's your country's opinion about this topic? It basically helps the delegates to write a resolution in terms of proposed solutions to the issue.
The first step of the resolution writing process begins with each delegate composing a draft resolution. Delegates then join in groups to share and develop their ideas. It is during this brainstorming that they merge their thoughts into a single resolution.
Find, I don't know, like volunteer scientists, maybe.
We don't need to turn to a safer.
We're trying to write a resolution right now, and we're trying to write the clauses by merging some ideas that we're lobbying right now. And we're trying to find some good solutions for the LEDCs to prevent them from malnutrition and poverty. We wrote about 5 clauses, which I think is a pretty good process right now. And we're writing a lot of sub-clauses, which explains how are we planning to put those clauses, how are we going to do those clauses. We like it a lot because it's a teamwork, and we're having fun and also coming up with ideas which will help LEDCs, and it makes us feel good. And we really think that we are an important part of the United Nations.
So we're going to collect these people in camps, because if people are in one place, it's easier to...
I think that it's a very good chance in order to speak in public. I like it because I collaborate with other people and trying to find solutions about problems that my world faces. That's why I like it.
The solution that I found is, in order, we need to provide people with clean water, because if they cook with unsafe water, then the food's going to be contaminated, and that'll cause them to get illnesses. So we need to find a way that they get clean water.
I think that JMUN is really beneficial for all of these students, because they are middle school students mostly, and they have to learn about how MUN works so that they can be MUN participants in high school. So by this process, we're training them and we're telling them about what to do in situations that they might face in the future. And we're telling them about how to write resolutions, how to make speeches, how the rules and procedure works. So that's why it's really beneficial for them to attend this conference before high school. By learning about this process now, the rules and parliamentary procedures of the United Nations, they can be members of the UN later. And if they're interested in politics and social affairs, they can be the voices that we need in order to solve the issues that the world is facing right now. So it's really important for them to attend MUN and feel this power that they might have in the future from now, and so that they may participate in very important activities later on in their lives.
The skills which they learn in terms of the use of vocabulary, the ability to write resolutions and use technical language, the ability to speak out confidently in front of others, to also work as a team as well. And all of these things combined give an excellent coverage of the English curriculum and also a curriculum in general.
But I think the benefit the student will get is that when we came here, to be honest, it was amazing to see children, our children, would be able to raise their voice in front of other people who they didn't know, and also how to use proper language in public and talk about their feelings and what they thought.
I hope the resolutions that they're writing will give them an idea of how to present an argument and how to move forward to get your argument to be recognized and something to be done about it by society. So if you have a concern, you know that I can voice my opinion and there's a way to go about it.
I think it's very important. One of the things that they're going to need as time goes on is life skills, and one of those that many of our students who come from diplomatic families particularly, they're going to be using those kind of skills of debating and that kind of language skills in their future positions and jobs. So actually, the more we can do now to help them prepare themselves for future in their life, then it's a fantastic opportunity.
On the second day, delegates from the 12 committees of the General Assembly and the Special Conference gather for the ambassadors' speeches. Ambassadors' speeches, also called opening speeches, are often the moment of truth, when delegates must exercise their public speaking skills in front of a large audience. They have 1 minute to present concisely and clearly their country's position on their assigned issue and suggest possible solutions.
To the staff. We live in a world where some countries constantly waste food and products, while in some countries people have to fight for their food. Mexico strongly believes that world starvation, caused by many reasons, such as land grabbing, uneducated people, the difficulty of finding food in war zones, and the impact of climate change, needs to be neatly resolved.
Distinguished Chair, fellow delegates, first of all, as the Ambassador of Colombia, I would like to wish you the best of luck here in the 6th Annual JMUN Conference. As the Ambassador of Colombia, I would like to refer to the main issue of today's conference, named Feed the World.
Every day, almost 16,000 children die from hunger-related causes. The World Bank estimates that the spike in global food prices, followed by the global economic recession, has pushed between 100 to 150 million people into poverty.
Brazil encourages agricultural research, but is generally against genetically modified food. Sustainability is very important to us, and we do this by encouraging small farms and organic practices.
We are aware of the hunger issue and starvation around the world. Here we will discuss issues which are directed to the conference theme Feed the World.
This strategy is founded in the belief that United States investments in water will turn into investments in people, economic sustainability, as well as productive and safe environments for everyone in the planet.
As an NGO, our funds are limited but effective. From the day we have established, we try to do our best and still continue to do so.
Unfortunately, 6 million children die of hunger every year. According to estimates by Food and Agriculture Organization, there were 925 million undernourished people in the world in 2010.
In addition to the 12 forums, students were involved in 3 other UN organizations: the Advisory Panel, the Security Council, and the International Court of Justice.
We're now going to start debating our clauses on the second topic. Is this a point of information directed?
The advisory panel is a forum where participants debate the political, economic, environmental, and humanitarian aspects of a region. The region this year was the Nile River Basin. 2 topics were debated. First, hydropolitical problems related to water sharing, and second, transboundary cooperation to tackle environmental problems.
Our experts are very enthusiastic and they contribute a lot to the debate. They have submitted very good clauses. Being in the advisory panel is also very unique because the experts in the advisory panel are usually more enthusiastic than ordinary delegates. The difference is that in order to become experts in the advisory panel, they have to apply individually. That's why the advisory panels usually consist of delegates who are very willing to contribute.
Is the delegate of the World Water Council aware that by funding and encouraging scientists to research alternative chemicals that are environmentally friendly, is the delegate aware that that money can be used for something else, perhaps for educating the farmers?
The expert from Burundi would like to firstly congratulate you on a very good clause. And we are just wondering, how exactly do you plan on educating the farmers?
Well, maybe with a school for farmers or something like that the government will organize, maybe with our help, that educate them and give them ways and other materials that they can use in order to protect the environment.
The Nile River Basin is a very valuable resource for all the 11 countries that lie in the basin, and many environmental threats are present in the basin, and if these environmental threats grow bigger and become very, very major problems, then this will cause the countries in the basin to not be able to continue their activities on the basin, such as agriculture and fishing. And if this happens, this will have a very negative effect on the countries in the basin. And that's why we try to balance environmental protection and financial gains. We want the environment to be protected, and at the same time, the countries in the basin to not lose their financial opportunities.
I'm originally from Egypt, but I never really knew that all these issues were happening in the Nile River Basin, and I never actually knew that Egypt was taking up 90% of the water, that 90% actually belonged in other countries like Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, Uganda, Eritrea, and it was just really I was really surprised when I found out about it.
This experience sticks with them. It goes a long way. This is the kind of stuff that we need to engage students in so that they're more widely observant of what's going on worldwide around them. I find that the kids actually learn the language that is used in the UN. So when they sit down and they're actually talking to their colleagues, the conversation is more deep. They learn listening skills because they have to listen to someone else speak, actually to hear their side of an argument before they can actually speak. So it helps them to develop strategies as they're speaking. You know, how can I counter this argument? It helps them to develop respect for other people's opinion. It also helps them to do research, not just basic research, but to go extensively in their research, because they have to get all the facts that they need in order to have a counter argument. So I think this experience not only prepares them for the real world, but it also prepares them so that they can do well academically in their subject areas in school.
The Security Council is one of the principal organs of the United Nations. It is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. The Council debates complicated, challenging, and controversial issues and has the authority to establish peacekeeping operations, impose international sanctions, and order military action.
Countries are making treaty, like Pakistan make a treaty about the no connection countries.
This year, JMUN focused on security in South Sudan and the situation in Kashmir.
There could be no connection, no trade, no politics, no
Now, in Security Council, we have a clause, and it wants an agreement between Pakistan and India in topic of Kashmir situation, and we had an amendment, and the amendment asked 2 countries to be supervisors. However, we had Russia and France. They are P5 countries, and they have a special power called veto, and they don't think that those 2 supervisors will be objective enough, so they use their veto power. So we will have a P5 meeting. So in P5 meetings, we have 5 P5 countries, which are United Kingdom, United States of America, Russian Federation, China, and France. They will try to persuade each other to give a vote of favor, to vote in favor of that amendment in order to pass the amendment or the clause. Because if one of the countries will give a vote of veto, then nothing will pass. With 13 votes in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention, this clause is passed.
The International Court of Justice is the primary judicial organ of the United Nations. It resolves legal disputes between nations. Here, their participants took on the roles of judges or advocates in an actual pending case that involves the countries of Ecuador and Colombia concerning aerial herbicide spraying.
This can all be seen in applicant 8. I'm not going to read all of it because there's basically all these bullet points show the negative effects on animals as well as crops and soil.
To help and guide the participants, an ex-lawyer cum teacher was there to supervise the sessions.
Respondents all in 1, applicants can break it up into 2. And in the opening statement, as you know, only one of the advocates presented the opening statement. Here, both of them can be involved.
This is the case of Ecuador versus Colombia, and the problem is that Ecuador is facing the waft of aerial spraying that is going on in Colombia, and it's hurting their livestock, it's hurting their land, it's hurting their people. Colombia claims we have to continue the spraying because spray is killing the drugs that are being grown by the rebels in the country. The rebels want to take over the country. They're financing themselves with the drugs, and so they're spraying, aerial spraying. And the spray, the Roundup, the glyphosate that is involved in the spray is apparently hurting the people of Ecuador, and Ecuador wants it stopped. And Colombia says, we don't want to stop it. We can't stop it because growing crops, the drug trade, is harmful to the entire world. We're sorry if it's impinging upon anything in Ecuador, but in balancing the interests, it's got to stop. And that's what the case is about, and it's in front of the International Court of Justice, and it's currently pending in front of the International Court, and they will decide the merits of the case and whether Ecuador is entitled to any damages, whether the spraying should stop, whether it should continue, whether there's actually harm being done to Ecuador. Those are the issues in the case.
We tried to cooperate with Ecuador. We created a 10-kilometer zone from the borders and sprayed above it. However, after some time, the FARC started planting coca crops in this 10-kilometer zone that we didn't spray, and thus created a new problem. So we actually started spraying again.
And you're using it to combat terrorism and the drug trafficking in your own country. So isn't that almost putting the health and safety of your people above others?
In the piece of evidence there is a part which says after 25 years of research on glyphosate-based formulations, they found that these can only cause at most short-term and completely reversible irritations of eyes, nose, mouth, and skin, but do not pose a serious risk to human health. But it doesn't say anything about the scientists that researched at this. Who researched in this 25 years of program?
Don't you think that the study in here, that the blood samples from the 24 Ecuadorians living inside the 3 kilometers is a bit biased because it is done from scientists in Pontificia Catholic University in Quito, Ecuador.
On the third and final day of the conference, while the advisory panel, Security Council, and International Court of Justice were still in session, the 12 committees sat in plenary sessions.
We have 6 committees in the General Assembly, which are disarmament, environment, human rights, political, social affairs, and territorial disputes. These committees send 2 of their best clauses from each resolution to the General Assembly plenary session. And here the delegates of the General Assembly plenary session debates each clause by clause, and they basically take the floor, deliver a speech either for or against the resolution and the clause, and after that there will be a resolution passed from the General Assembly plenary session which is related to the theme, which is Feed the World.
With the attendance of all member states, so we are believing that cooperation can be the first step to solve this issue. Thank you.
First of all, the first clause is not really efficient for us because there is no NGO or no way to tell us who will teach the aid workers how to defend themselves.
Are you open to any points of information?
Yeah, no.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information, but due to time constraints, we will only entertain 2.
This is a platform where people can express themselves, and this is necessary for everyone because you learn how to speak in front of public. You learn how to express your ideas, and this will just help everyone. Okay, I've been in the MUN for 4 years now, and what I've seen is, I want to be a doctor, but I'm doing MUN, and I'm with all these potential politicians, but what I gained was the most important thing is that public speaking and how to express yourself. Because if you cannot express yourself, you cannot be successful in life. You need to express your ideas in the right way. You need to express your ideas to a crowd. You might be in a situation where you need to talk in front of a crowd of 600 people like we did in this conference. So for me, it was public speaking. For me, it was expressing myself. And I believe that's the most important thing you get from the Model United Nations.
These 4 clauses have passed. Clapping is in order.
The delegate of the FAO urges all nations to vote for the amendment.
Thank you, delegates. Are you open to points of information?
Any and all.
Are there any such? With 10 votes for, 3 votes against, and 7 abstentions, this amendment passes. Clapping is in order.
Before this experience, I was a little bit afraid to speak in front of a group of people, but while I was here, I learned to develop an easier way to speak in front of people, and I learned more about MUN because this is my first conference, and I learned about the procedures and how they talk.
We should support the laws and using the UN, because making a new organization will just make it.
This is our first time bringing a group of middle school students to a JMUN conference from Cairo American College, and overwhelmingly the students have been so excited to be surrounded by peers from around the region who are knowledgeable about these world events, and to feel the pressure to step up and rise up to the occasion and learn about what's going on in the world and be able to converse on it. I've been really impressed at the fact that the students can talk about these complicated world issues, for many of them in a language that's not their native language.
Will share and teach their knowledge.
They're being put on the spot to have to speak quickly, to synthesize the information that's being said out loud and in writing on the resolutions, to come up with their own ideas, whether they're for or against, to suggest amendments, to get up and do public speaking in front of their peers, for which a lot of these kids, this is their first time on a microphone and on a stage in front of everybody. And then they have to respond quickly on the spot to challenges and questions, specific questions, challenging their thinking, and they have to be able to address those knowledgeably and confidently, and I think these are life skills.
In addition to diplomatic activities, other students contributed to the organization in different ways. These roles were essential to the smooth running of the conference.
I am in charge of the conference personnel and the media. The conference personnel basically consists of the admin staff, the security, and the press team. Other than that, I work with the media, which is the videos for the conference and the newspaper. It's a really exciting job in my opinion. I mean, I really like it. I like working with the media, I like working with people, because I want to work in the media in the future. And so having this chance of being able to make a newspaper every day for the conference is a really good experience for me. The conference personnel consists of 100 people plus the 30 media people, and it's really hard to work with everyone. But the good thing is that in the conference we have divided positions, the media manager, the admin staff manager, which really helps things become easier.
Because JMUN is almost entirely run by students, the conference could not take place without the energy, the enthusiasm, and the organizing skills of those involved. Each 2011 JMUN participant gained valuable experience while enjoying themselves. Everyone from the delegates to the organizing team, to the conference personnel team, to the security staff, all worked together to make this conference the success that it was. Whatever the role these students choose to take, this annual conference shows that the youth of today, in the not-so-distant future, will become the leaders of tomorrow. Not-so-distant, whatever the role these students choose to take, this annual conference shows that the youth of today, in the not-so-distant future, will become the leaders of tomorrow. In the not-so-distant future, will become the leaders of tomorrow.